The United States Border Patrol has exciting and rewarding career opportunities with the nation's largest law enforcement organization.
Border Patrol agents enjoy great pay, outstanding federal benefits, and up to $20,000 in recruitment incentives.
If you are looking for a way to serve something greater than yourself, consider the United States Border Patrol. Learn more online at cbp.gov/careers/USBP.
That's cbp.gov/careers/USBP.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, I am super excited about my guest today. This is going to be so much fun. He's a former school teacher, and we're going to find out what he's doing now because he's like taking a whole different route, which is so awesome, and I love this. But before we get him on, I do want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. So, today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, or photography work, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. All right. I'm so excited about my guest today, Ron Alexy. This is going to be so much fun, Ron. He's a performance artist, stand-up comedian, actor, musician, and he also is a financial service professional. He says his journey brings him new challenges as he works to live out his potential, and he says that his journey has been an odyssey, that the arts have always been his North Star. So, Ron, welcome to Behind the Dreamers. I am so excited to have you here today.
Good to be here. Thank you for asking me to come on the show.
So I want to open this up real quick. I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing right now. So tell us a little bit about how you arrived to where you are and what you're doing.
Okay, how I arrived here. Well, I think, where do I start? Okay, one of my inspirations, right, was Inside the Actor's Studio. Like, I used to, really dream about being on that show. And in this journey, I think one of the things I'll kind of lament about my story is that I'll never be on that show because James Lipton has, he's passed away at this point, right? And it was, but he starts by asking every artist in that chair, where were you born, right? And everyone says, I think Martin Lawrence is born in Luxembourg, Germany. I think it's, but every artist says where they're born. And I was born in Wiley, Texas, right? I was born in Wiley, Texas, and you grow up, and I think very early on, I think my family will say, yeah, he's a comedian. That's a comedian, and sort of, sometimes it's like, but how do you really make a living for yourself as a comedian? That's not like you don't go to school to become a comedian. It's its own journey, right? So I've always thought, look, I have the intellect to be a doctor or a lawyer, but right. I'm a comedian. You know what I mean? Which is its own story that you just kind of you feel that that's the thing that calls you and that brings you joy, and you decide that's what I'm going to do with my life. And so, there's some times where I've been kind of derailed a little bit, but I've never completely lost sight of that's what I want to do. I want to get on stage and talk to people, and then these ideas, and just communicate with them. And then, sometimes it's this is why my life is. Comedy is really about why your life is hard. Sometimes it's that's what comedy's about. So if someone is someone might be, there might be short, right? So they make jokes about being that. Or sometimes if they're, they might be overweight, they might be do jokes about that. So whatever your struggle is about, that's what comedy's about, And I think, yeah.
It's interesting to say that because I met another gal at an event that I was at, and she is a comedian. I think she's done something on HBO or something. Anyway, she was a speaker at this event. She's actually coming on my other podcast show. She reached out to me and wanted to get on, but she said the same thing. She was talking about dysfunction in her family. And she said, whatever your like pain point is that you're dealing with, that's what you make the comedy about. Like, right. That's what you talk about. And so it's interesting that you say that, because it must be like a universal thing. But I want to lean into something else, because I think, you know, when you're talking about how you had this, like, you want to be a comedian, and there's sort of like this pull that keeps coming up, you know, about what you want to do. And yet we're told in life a lot of times not to do these things that we really are passionate about doing, or that we feel are important to our soul. Right. And so we take these other paths because we think that's going to be the path that brings us the money or the success, but then we're not really truly happy doing that thing. Right. We have to pay the bills, but we're not truly happy doing that thing. And so I think that really leans into another conversation about how do we find that thing that you really enjoy doing so that you can feel fulfilled. And in your case, it's comedic work, right? Like it's doing these art things and stuff. And you're doing other, because you do stand up, and then you're a musician as well, right?
I would say being a musician is my third pitch. You know, I think it's maybe comedy and acting. I don't know, maybe it's 1 and 1A, but being a musician is like kind of third. It's my third pitch. I don't think I'm as proficient at it as the others, but I still play guitar and things. Like I can get around a campground and I can play guitar and sing, and you know, I mean, it's a work in progress. But you know, I like to use that for some of my comedy bits. You know, to kind of use the guitar and. Yeah, there's a level I'd like to get to, you know, kind of, I'd like to get as good as, you know, Jimmy Page on the guitar, you know, and kind of be everything like this awesome performer that does comedy and he plays guitar, you know? So yeah, it's fun.
You could open up with the guitar music, you know, the playing, and then you got the comedy going on with it. You could have it all just flowing.
Yeah, you know, I just kind of like, you know, I was having a discussion with my brother yesterday, right? And I'm like, I told him, hey, I'm headlining this show in 2 months, right? And he's like, you are? I was like, yeah. He's like, what? Like, anyways, 2 weeks ago, my car died. Like, I had a car that died 2 weeks ago, right? And so then I'm calling them. They're like, hey, are you going to come down to Houston? I'm like, no, my car died. I'm going to buy another car. You know, and then like I called him 2 weeks later. I'm like, hey, I'm headlining this show. So he's like, okay. I'm like, and like, well, that's very good to hear that you're doing something, because I thought I was gonna have to. He's to his wife. He's like, I thought I was gonna have to talk to her about explain your weird choices that you make. And you know, I'm like, look, and I'm like wondering. Look, here's the thing about it. I understand her feeling like I'm making some weird choices, but she would also make weird choices too. But you know, she's not as funny as I am. And if she was, then she might have to make weird choices too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you are the world's fastest runner, right? Like you could run so fast, like, yeah, you should, maybe it's more conventional to have a job where you can take out the mail, right? You're a mailman or something, or I don't know, you work at FedEx or something, but you're this guy that runs fast. You should maybe be in the NFL. Maybe. You should think about it, right? So if you have these abilities that are kind of extraordinary, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you're just going to kind of live like a pedestrian life. And sometimes with talent comes choices that, you know, a lot of people, some people won't have to, I don't know. Some people don't have to make them, I guess. I don't know, but everybody has a gift, you know. So maybe there's a choice that they're denying to themselves.
I was just going to say that maybe they're just,
you know, go out and
maybe they're just
maybe
not
there's
making
something,
the choice.
Yeah.
Well, and that I think what I'm hearing from you, Ron, is that it's not everybody. We all have a talent. Not everybody's willing to explore the talent and take the risk on the talent, right? Like. And I think that goes back into being willing to do what it takes to do that, right? Like yesterday I talked to this boxer. And one of the things he said was that not that he was this phenomenal, I don't know what the word he used, but he alluded to the fact that he was not this better than boxer than maybe somebody else, but he figured out this formula. And he figured out that he was willing to do things that other boxers were not willing to do, like walk 6 miles to the studio, do different things that others were not willing to do. And so he became very fixated on what did he need to do. It started out, what did he need to do to survive, right? And then what did he need to do to get to the Olympics or whatever it was. He started working on the activities that would take him to that, but he would do things that others were not willing to do. So I think when we talk about talent or going into something that maybe traditionally other people say, don't do that because there's no money behind that. I say that people like you or myself or people that are creators that maybe we're doing things because we love doing them, right? We're willing to take those risks because we know that there is something in that for us, whether that may be at the end of the day, we feel good about ourselves because we just did something somebody is not else willing to do, right? Whatever that is. So I think there's nothing wrong with adding that into your life. I mean, yeah, we have to pay the bills and we have to do the things to pay the bills. But I think if it's something that you're passionate about and you enjoy doing it, go for it.
Right. And I just kind of sometimes think, I'm like, you know what? I've come to the point where I'm like, you know what, guys, the world is right. And I'll say that. The world is right, But if I'm wrong, what? Then I can just go back to being a teacher or something, or go do whatever. You know what I mean? It's like the world needs teachers, I guess. You know what I mean? I could, but I don't know.
They need funny teachers.
They need funny teachers. Yeah. So I just, but that whole thing about being able to doing what you need to do. I have a mentor, right? His name is Dwight Jeffrey. He's got a book that he's written, but he's a great friend of mine. And I read in his book that there was sort of I think that some of the greats, I think it was like Jerry Rice, he would catch bricks, right? He would catch bricks, or he would go up a mountain and kind of tie a tire to himself and go up this hill, not a mountain, a hill. He'd go up a hill. Do that because he wanted to make sure he had soft hands to catch these bricks, but then also he wanted to be able to outlast the cornerback into the fourth quarter. When that cornerback was tired because of his training regimen, he designed something to be able to outlast the defensive back. So he was just kind of there's something to that, just being able to do what others aren't willing to do. But I think it's even a slippery slope though. You know what I mean? Because it's sometimes I've seen it, and it's here's the thing. And as an artist and an entrepreneur, I kind of have to be able to balance both things, because it's so easy to kind of you also don't want to design a regimen that burns yourself out. You know what I mean? There's sometimes there's a I know certain entrepreneurs where they're the one-man show, and then they're burning themselves out. I mean, they are willing to do what others aren't willing to do, but it's man, sometimes you gotta have systems too, I think. You know what I mean? So it's I'm a comedian and an artist, but I've also been I've had to have an entrepreneurial mind, as I've shifted from being a school teacher to, my day profession, as I do life insurance and financial things where I work with people and kind of try to, do different things. Sometimes it's debt elimination, and kind of do that through actually software systems. And anyways, that's a different conversation. But people not burning themselves out. I think that's important too. I don't. Yeah. I think it takes good coaches.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this,
Yes.
because coming from having a job where you're somebody else is paying your check,
Sure.
moving into this entrepreneur space,
Right.
what do you feel like has been maybe the trickiest thing for you, like the biggest challenge?
Oh, well, it's I think people opening up to have a conversation, and sometimes them even kind of trusting you to have this conversation. And sometimes for me, I do kind of have to deal with. I'm in a unique space because I'm a comedian and I'm a financial professional. So those two things kind of look like they go against each other at times, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like
Left brain, right brain.
right. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, sometimes it goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday comedy. I've been doing comedy. Then Monday, it's like insurance, and it's like it's a whole completely different part of my brain. Um, and it's hard. But anyways, with the insurance, it becomes people sort of like opening up and having conversations. I think that's the hardest thing. But I do it because I do believe in it. I think that like I don't know, whenever you have like a 401k investment, it ends up being like I don't know if you think about this, right? We have the highest debt we've ever had as a country, right? I think we're what it was 33 trillion in debt, right? I think we've turned on the printing press over the last few years. There's 10 trillion that were, put into the economy, and we see inflation out there. So the way the country is going to pay back its debt is it's going to go to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, we need more money to pay our debt, to honor our debts, or we're going to raise taxes on our citizens, right? So of those two things, because we have to honor the dollar, we are most likely taxes are going to go up in the future, which will affect 401ks and all those things, because those are those are taxed at distribution. So for me, I'm like, to me, being able to plan the tax allocation of that, a lot of times you insulate that through life insurance and being able to like actually talk to somebody about, so it's a completely different part of my brain, but I think it's important. And for me, I mean, when y'all see me on Netflix specials and on TV and movies, like my part of my financial portfolio, a good part of it is I want to put it in life insurance and annuities, and then get it out of my hands. Like get it really sometimes get part of it out of my hands, because it's credit, and it's credit, it's credit protected too, so like I think in terms of strategy, like I think in terms of strategically, whenever I approach somebody about having a conversation, it's not just completely about I really hate, and I think most salespeople, I think do have their heart in the right place. I think they do. I mean, I could be wrong,
Right.
but I think most of them do. I think most of them do. Maybe I'm naive, but I know at least I feel like I'm really trying to help somebody. And I just hate. I would hate for somebody to think, oh, he's just trying to sell me something. So I just whenever that's
Right.
the thing. That's the thing about like. I think that sometimes that is the difficult part, but I think there's something I'm very strategic in the way I think, and I look at a financial picture. It's not just it's not just selling something, but it's also this debt efficiency. Sometimes it's like, man, some people can't invest because they have so much debt. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Right.
even you take that I take that into account, and those are a part of my practice. And it's to me, it's like it's how a way to sort of have the freedom that I can, like if I can do this by day and work with one or two clients a day, at night it gives me the independence I need to do a stand up, to do and that's important to me to kind of keep it going. So but yeah, that's
That's good, Ron. Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Well, and I think too, to your point, I think most salespeople don't like that part of sales. They don't want to come
Sure.
off like that. And I think that's where good relationship building comes into play. When
Sure.
you really get good and you understand, find your patient. It's evident to me that you are passionate about what you do. I don't think that's the question here. So I think this is a universal thing, because I was in sales for many years too. And I think that that's a universal thing, that we don't want to come across as being pushy. And so it's where we get really good at learning, being passionate about our product, but also understanding what are our clients' pain points and how can we fill that pain point for them, right? Like really digging deep to learn about them and have those conversations. So, but I do like that you're, when you talked about earlier on about doing the two different things and they seem contradictory to each other, because I think really a lot of us do that. I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, it's like I do my creative stuff, but then I have to be strategic and on the other, using the other side of my brain to how do I strategize all that and make a business out of that stuff, right? So I think a lot of us really do that. And it's good, because I think when you have the ability to tap into your creative side of your brain, it really allows you to become more industrious and resourceful and be able to do the other things that you need to do, because you're tapping into that creativity side of your brain. So there is some good in that. And I've met a lot of really true creative people that talk about using the left and right brain a lot within their work. So I don't think you're doing anything, that's necessarily, let's just say this. I think it's awesome that you're able to do that, your financial stuff during the day, and then to be able to use your creative space in the evening to do the thing that you enjoy doing. So it's good. Yeah. What would you say that you've learned about yourself in this journey?
What have I learned about myself in the journey? Well, I think I'm really I think like to be success, sometimes if you want to be successful, you have to be obsessed, right? And I think that's something about me. Some of the things that just like there was one project I was working on years ago. Like I wrote this play, right? It was a one-man show. And I really at this point, it was a comedy. It was a comedy about the apocalypse and conspiracy theories, and one of the premises is I guess that whenever Black Friday happens, right? There's all these, when there's no more room in hell, the dead are going to walk the earth. So on Black Friday, the zombies show up to Walmart, right? Waiting for them to open the store, and the zombies show up and they eat all the people in line. And for 24 hours, the cops weren't called or nothing seemed out of the ordinary, so they didn't really suspect that these were zombies for at least a day, So it was, but when I wrote that play, I was like, it was a one-man show. And actually I did all the characters. So 25 characters, did all the characters. And I think it was really too ambitious for really a one-man show, but I did it anyways. Right. And, and there's a point where I'm telling you, it was all I could think about. And then even when I first started doing comedy, it was all I could think about. It was the only thing. So there's this thing to me that's just, I can be really persistent about this thing, man. And, I don't know. I think I've been described as tenacious, but it's I think it's that Steve Jobs, the Steve Jobs principle that, in anything that you do, you got to pick something that you love, right? Because he said when he looked back at people's lives, and it was what was it that made this person successful? Is all of them, they picked something that they loved, because if you don't love that thing, when it gets hard, you're going to quit, And so there's been, I'm telling you, there's so many times. There was, I think I started doing comedy in 2007. Then 2010, I was at the comedy club, and I was kind of doing stand up. I was kind of going in. I'd moved from Austin back to Dallas, but I was still kind of doing stand up. And then I stopped going to comedy club because something happened at the comedy club. Right. And it was just kind of my friend. He was even kind of ostracized a little bit, and we were in the same crew. So it kind of affected me, and I stopped going to that club. I'm like, I'm on strike. I'm not going, And then for about 10 years, it became sort of, I'm working on this one man show. I started doing like Shakespeare classes with, there's this professor at UTD. He wrote all these one man shows. I don't know if, anyways, I don't know if I should say names. Should I? But it was like, he wrote all these one man shows, and I thought, I got to learn from him, because he had written like 75 of them, and he had produced like 25 of them, right? And I'm like, this is somebody I should learn from. And then that took me to, after that, I had that show produced, and then it was like, okay, I wrote a project that helped me get my SAG card, and sort of like, and then I think at some point after that, I was like, oh, I got a job teaching theater. But this whole time, I'm kind of thinking I'm still like in the arts, and I still haven't lost sight of, this is really what I want to do. I think the only point that was really kind of a hiatus was really when I started kind of between 2000, maybe 17 to maybe 20. But I was still kind of like doing things, but it was, I don't know. It's just, I think what I've discovered is
tenacious.
Yeah, I just love doing it. And if most people who are me would have already quit by now, because it's like, sometimes you don't catch a break, or sometimes you don't get a part or whatever. Like, I've been up for a part where it was just like, this is a big part and I don't get it. And that's heartbreaking. But it's like, okay, I got to get back out there and got to keep doing this thing. You know what I'm saying? And because if I don't, there's that little thing where it was just like, it was a very disappointing feeling, like at one point, I think I was in North Dakota. I was in North Dakota, right? And I was selling, I was selling a product that I did not relate to, which was, I was selling a product did not relate to. And then at the time, I just kind of like, I didn't make a sale. I'm out in North Dakota, and I'm like, and I hardly have any money in the bank. And I'm just like, what does this have to do with comedy? You know what I mean? And I'm sitting, and I remember kind of like sitting in Nebraska, actually in a cornfield. And I'm sitting there like, what has this got to do with comedy? Why am I here? You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know. What I've discovered is that for some reason, I love doing it,
Yeah. I'm hearing that from you. Well, and that's the thing, I think, Ron, is that if it's something that keeps speaking to you, then I feel like when things are really, really important to us, they just sort of kind of keep showing up. They find their way. And I had a guest that came on my show, my original show, way back before the pandemic. And one of the things she said, and I'm not going to quote her exactly because I don't know exactly what she said, but she said something along the lines that your strengths always find you. They find a way of showing up. And so, I think that some of us recognize those strengths and some of us don't. I will tell you that, and then we'll wrap this up, but a funny story, like I used to actually get in trouble for talking as a child. Like I got in trouble in school for talking a lot, and I got in trouble at home for talking a lot. And then there was a period of time between middle school, high school, into college, into my 20s, into my 30s. And this went on for a very, very long time where I was actually really kind of shy. I didn't really like to talk. And I took public speaking in college, and I said I would never step in front of a group of people and speak ever again because I hated it so badly. And then I went into Mary Kay when I was in my late 20s, and I went into it because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I was with that organization for 22 plus years, moved in the top 2% of the company, and stood in that position for 15 years before I stepped down. But part of my role in that, my duties in that was to lead, mentor, coach, and train. And so I had to get up in front of people, and I had to do presentations, and I had to train, and I had to do all these things where it required me to talk in front of people. And so I fast forward to where I am now, and I tell this story to people all the time, and they laugh, and they're like, there's no way that you were ever shy. They laugh at me. I'm like, oh yeah, there was a time when I was like, no, I would never get up and talk in front of people. And so I think it's interesting that, some of us recognize, like in your case, you recognize, hey, I have a talent. I'm good at this. I enjoy doing this, and I want to pursue this. And some of us have to go around and dig around and lay things, put things dormant for a while, and then they surface up. But I really believe that when there is something that's important to us and that we enjoy doing, it has a way of finding us. Yeah. It's whether or not we recognize that it's finding us, and do we take it and we go do something with it.
Yeah, I feel you. It's for me, it keeps showing up, and if it doesn't show up, I make sure that it shows up again, and I put myself around it. You know what I mean?
Very cool. Very cool. So what do you have coming up next? What's going on? You got some more stand-up comedy coming up?
I just, I do have that, my channel. There's there's the Alexy Show on Instagram. Y'all can find me there, or the TikTok, and I post things on there, so you can find me there. ALEXY. But but in a couple of months, I'm producing and I'm headlining the show. I'm headlining the show at TK's Comedy Club. So that's going to be August 6th. Yeah, August 6th. So everybody just kind of, awesome. It should be posted on my Instagram, kind of how to buy tickets within the next week, about week and a half-ish. I'll post something. There'll be
perfect.
Yeah, there'll be other comics on there too. It's going to be an excellent lineup of comics. Like, I know there's some shows that just kind of got there's some comics, but these, I think, were comics that, I kind of had to they were in obscure places, but I got them all together, and I think this Justice League of comedians. So, yeah. Oh, no, wait. Hello?
I think we're frozen here, Ron. Not sure what's going on, but thank you for saying where they can find you on Instagram, so that we can get your tags in there. We'll make sure when this episode goes out that we allow everybody to know where they can find you. And congratulations on your upcoming show. We'll make sure we get this out before that, so people know that they can, in the local area, can come see you in August when you headline the show at TK's. Super fun. And of course, we do want to say to our audience, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you check us out on Apple, give us a rating over there, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And as we always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.